Сейчас у нас будет секция Digital Health, она будет на английском, поэтому я тоже перехожу на английский. Unfortunately, we are cutting the coffee break because we are a bit late in 20 minutes, and we will start the section right now. But those who want to have coffee, you can go there. The machines are working like every second. So now I'm welcoming here the technology journalist from VentureBeat. Please welcome Chiara Green.
Hello everyone. Okay, I hope everybody isn't going to need to get coffee, but we'll see who's left. So, can your smartphone save your life? That's really the question we're going to look at in this session today on digital health. And as well as being a technology journalist, and I've written about this area quite a lot, I also actually teach yoga. And one of the things that my yoga teacher says is that there are two forces that you would like to have in balance in the world and in your life, Shiva and Shakti, which means creativity and well-being. So in the modern world, and in particular in the technology world that we all work in, we have a lot of creativity. We have a lot of new stuff coming out all the time, but we don't always have as much well-being. So we have a society that has very high levels of obesity, of disease, of all of these, of mental health issues. So what I really like about this area is that it puts all of that creativity that we have in the technology world at the service of well-being, because health is at the basis of all of our well-being. So there's been a big upsurge of interest in this area of digital health in the past couple of years. In the last quarter alone, twice as many startups were funded in the US in digital health as in the previous quarter. We also have things like the first startup accelerator exclusively for health startups in Europe launched in Dublin this year, and here in Russia we have things like the Skolkovo Innovation Center Biomedical Cluster, which has 165 companies, and we're going to see one of them on stage very soon. But first of all, I would like to introduce Matteo Penzo, who is a Director of Technology at Frog Design, and he is going to talk about Frog Design's vision of health for the future.
Thank you, Kira. Good morning, everybody. So let's do a quick exercise. It's been a long morning, so please help me in making this session more interactive, and please stand up, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, even you guys looking at Twitter, I see you. Everybody stand up. Okay, now raise your hands in the air, take a deep breath, relax and sit down. Okay, so tomorrow I will talk to you about disappearing mobile technology, right? And it's not magic. So, but first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Matteo Penzo, and I'm Technology Director at Frog. Frog helps, we help our client in succeeding in the connected world. So, mobile devices, let me state this. I'm not saying, and I don't want to mean that we won't use mobile devices or sensors technology in the future. They are here to stay. What I'm saying that in the future, they will just change shape. They will be evenly distributed. And if we start looking at some data, at the numbers, the US spending on telecoms for healthcare in 2011 has grew from $7 billion to more than $8 billion. And in 2012, this has grew by a rate of 4.7%. In 2011, the remote monitoring chronic conditions, for the remote monitoring market for chronic conditions grew year over year, but more than 14%, which is a huge number. And by 2018, this number is expected to grow by 4% per year. So we're witnessing shifting in both in telecommunications and connectivity, and in business models related to connected healthcare. And this shifting is profoundly changing the way we perceive technology related to healthcare. And at the end, it has permitted to move patient monitoring from critical to low acuity conditions. And now I will drive you through some examples. So IVG Stars, it's a device, and now it's a pretty old technology because it has nearly more than three years. It's a glucometer, so it's used by people with diabetes to measure their glucose level in their blood. And it's something you attach on the back of an iPhone. So the iPhone moves from being a smartphone to being a medical device. And that's quite an interesting transformation. And this one is even more interesting because it's a shell that you usually use to protect your phone. But in this case, you can see there are two sensors on the back of it. So while keeping the phone inside your hand, it's measuring your heartbeat. And it's measuring your heartbeat, and since the smartphone is connected to the cloud and to the internet, your physician could see the values. And if you have problem at your heart, you can imagine how important it is. Your physician could see the value of your heartbeat live while you're measuring them. And the easiness of use of these kind of technologies is also very important, because if you think about yourself, you're all tech geeks, you're used to these kind of things, but if you think about your grandmother or your mother, then having something which is very easy to use, a technology which is a transparent layer, it's going to be helping them in accepting the technology and actually using it. Asmapolis is, all of these, by the way, are products you can buy. They're all on the market, or they're going to be hitting the market pretty soon. So Asmapolis is for people with asthma, the respiratory disease. And it's just mounted on the mat. So when you press the button to get the medication, it basically tracks the time of the day. It has a GPS sensor, so it can track your position. And finally, it moves the data to their cloud server, and where they aggregate all this data. And so what they can understand, the service they can provide, is that they can create some meaning from the data. It's not interesting knowing why a single individual has taken the med in that specific position that time of the day. But when the number of individuals taking the medications repeatedly in the same position of the city, in the same area of the city, in the same time of the day, you can start getting an analysis on top of this simple data. The misfit, I usually put in this slide the Nike bracelet I use, but I think this is a cooler product because first of all, it works in water, right? And it is an accelerometer which not only tracks your body movement when you're walking or swimming, but it can also track you while you're on a bicycle or while skiing. And yet it provides all the trends of movement you're creating while living your life. Tinke, it's pretty nice because it's using a camera and a light to measure the oxygenation of your blood and the quality of your blood. And it's creating a new layer of services which are predicting your stress levels, for example. And if you imagine this kind of technology multiplied on big numbers, you can see trends in feelings of the population, but you can also check their healthcare. So this is a technology I actually worked with. It's an ingestible chip that is mounted on the top of a pill, of a medication. The chip dimensions are nearly 1 by 1 millimeters, so it's very small. It's not digested; it's expelled with your garbage. And the interesting thing is that it has no battery and it has no antenna. It gets activated by stomach fluids when you ingested it, and the antenna is your body flash. And it connects with a wearable patch which mounts the rest of the sensors technology. So it has a 3-axis accelerometer, it has a body thermometer to measure your body temperature, it can detect pathogens from your skin. So it's basically a lab, what we call a lab on a patch. We're used to take these kind of measurements while going to the doctor. So you measure your blood, and then you measure your stomach pH, etc., etc. In this case, the chip on the pill is just a unique identifier. But when it talks to the patch, that talks to the smartphone, then it enables this kind of technological ecosystems for healthcare. So you can imagine transplant patients that are forced to take up to 30 different pills per day at very specific moments of the day. Systems like this helps them, their caregivers, and the physicians in having a wealthier and better life. So what I want to say is that the revolution smartphones are currently creating is that they are acting as enablers. They're acting as enablers of a seamless integration of technology with our body, with our life. And if today this is what we consider a smartphone, in 15, 20 years, this is going to be our meaning for a smartphone. It's going to become transparent to us. It's going to be spreading everywhere. Maybe we're going to have a chip near our ear that gets the sound. We could touch maybe the sofa, and it could react to our touch. And as Maureen McHugh says, soon perhaps it will be impossible to tell where the human's hand and where the machine begins. And that opens up a very interesting reasoning for healthcare, technology, and our future, because we're not used to that. We're not used to get measured. Our physicians are not used to base their evaluation on actual data. And there was nothing before this time, a correlation between different data, because we get our examinations every time in different moments. We go and measure our blood pressure in the evening. We go and take a blood test in the morning, and we measure body temperature in another moment. But we never were able to correlate that. There's no literature in medicine. Now, physicians are starting having them. And I was talking with this guy, the product manager from Microsoft Health Vault. So Microsoft Health Vault is a system where you can aggregate data about your health. You upload them, you set them, you store them, and you can analyze them by yourself because they're providing the tools. But what the service they're providing to research centers is that they're opening this data, anonymized, to prepare these centers for analysis of this data. And the first results, he was telling me, that are amazing. So the number of new knowledge, the amount of new knowledge they are able to get from this data is impressive. So mobile healthcare is all about services based on the aggregation of data coming from multiple nodes. We said, if you think about Asmapolis, data coming from all the patients in the city, data coming from multiple sensors. You are going to have a lot of sensors mounted on you. If you use a smartphone, you already are wearing quite a huge amount of sensor on your body. And finally, it's the lowering of adoption barriers. Think about the iPad, which can be easily used by a 2-year-old as well as by a 90-year-old. And this is basically the theory that we have developed. We call it of the virtuous nested circles. And it's basically a shift in the positioning of the patient in the healthcare system, moving the patient to the center, but yet having him in a virtuous circle, included in a series of virtuous circles of payers and providers, healthcare professionals, caregivers, and data. So the one thing we have invested as Frog, this is the first case we did a program not paid by a client, and we call it the Frog Connected Care Solution. And it was just to prove this. We prototype an end-to-end solution coming from a commercial sensor up to the smartphone to provide the patient with data and meaning, and to a cloud-based system for caregivers and physicians. And the reason behind this is that big data by themselves are completely useless. You need to be able to create meaning from data. Otherwise, they're going to be wasted. And you need to be able to provide the patient with tools to analyze his data, give a meaning to the data he's collecting. And the same thing for physicians. They're going to be flooded with huge amount of data which need to be interpreted, and they need to be able to utilize a system which is capable of highlighting the problems. Not just showing data, but stressing where the attention needs to be. An intimate care network, our social network, are one of the most powerful tools to help us in being good patients. And if I don't need to smoke, if I'm a heavy smoker but I had a heart stroke and I don't need to smoke, I need my friends to help me quitting. I won't be able to do that alone, or it's going to be very, very difficult. I will skip this, and we need to, when I say we need to create a layer of meaning upon the data, meaning is also explaining to the patient and to the organizations why they need to collect the data. And for example, in this case, the algorithm is just analyzing the huge amount of data we're getting in and providing a sense to the effort and to the openness that the patient is providing to the system. And in this case, we're saying, hey, thanks for providing the data. This helped us in getting 250 patients living a wealthier life. So, mobile technology is seamlessly becoming a part of our life. I'm nearly done. We'll cease to be aware of it. How many of you are here with a smartphone in their pocket? Are you currently feeling it? Or yeah, you are, because you have it in your hand. But are you feeling it in your pocket, or you're just listening to me and you're not aware of that? You're probably not aware of, right? But it could be, it continuously connected to the web. It's measuring your GPS position. It has an accelerometer, so it knows that you're currently seated. Oh, I don't know what it did. I still have my final slide. Anyhow, so, and by becoming seamlessly connected to our devices, those devices are going to disappear for us, are going to be transparent. And it's with this process that we'll be finally able, as human beings, to live a much better and wealthier life. Thank you very much.
Very much, Matteo. I just have one question. So we now have all of these sensors gathering huge amounts of data on each of us. We have algorithms to extract meaning from that data. But how do you go from that to changing people's behavior? So just because you know that smoking is probably going to kill you doesn't stop people from smoking a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So information alone is not enough. So how can design help?
So I think we as designers have different tools to convince people in changing their behaviors. The simpler and probably the most superficial layer would be gamification, right? And we usually use gamification to start instructing the patient. It's good to put objectives when you first discover a system, because you will be engaged more easily. Then it's going to become boring, but at the very beginning, it lets you discover more features. The other one is what is called progressive disclosure. So the more you become expert with the application, the more the application will let you discover new and more advanced functionalities. And the third one, as I was saying, is the power of your social network. If you want to quit smoking and you're alone, it's going to be difficult. But if your mother and beloved ones and children are really pressing you to really stop smoking, and you see the care they put in and the effort they put in helping you, then you probably are at an easier stage.
And maybe one final thing, there are probably particular challenges associated with designing for healthcare. But one of them that seems to come up a lot is privacy. So what's your take on privacy?
Well, So obviously privacy it's a big topic in connected healthcare, because the whole system is relying on you sharing your most intimate data, right? Probably you're sharing data you're not even aware of. So the first thing is that all the systems need to be opt-in. So you as the patient need to be able to be in charge of selecting which data can be shared with whom. Second thing, you have a protection, a layer of protection by the laws, right? For example, FDA has approved just 70 apps that are considered medical devices. And if you think about the whole flooding of apps that we have on the market, it's a very small number. And that's because they care about privacy, they care about reliability, and they care about security.
Okay, so thank you very much for the very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
And you will be able to ask questions of Matteo after the panel discussion, so he'll be coming back for the panel discussion.